in the world happened to Euphoria? Season 3 feels completely different from the show audiences obsessed over in seasons 1 and 2. A lot of that is by design. The characters have grown up after a 5-year time jump. Now that they're no longer in high school, their lives look vastly different, meaning we are going to get a vastly different show. However, the time jump isn't the sole reason Euphoria Season 3 feels unmoored from its first 2 seasons. Between seasons 2 and 3, the show also went through a total stylistic overhaul. Now, these choices are meant to highlight Euphoria's ensemble's transition from high school to adulthood, but are they too much too soon? How can a show successfully reinvent itself mid-run? And is Euphoria even Euphoria anymore? Let's break it down, starting with everything Euphoria has changed. Part 1, Euphoria's Western Makeover. Close your eyes and try to define Euphoria in one image. What do you see? For me, it's Rue crying glittery tears, her face flooded with shifting color. It's nighttime bike rides and cool lighting, it's graphic makeup, elaborate fantasy sequences, like the claustrophobia of a gossip session in a high school bathroom. This dreamy aesthetic is one of the reasons Euphoria became viewed as a generation-defining show. Granted, it may never have really been Euphoria's aesthetic to begin with. In 2023, artist and director Petra Collins revealed that creator Sam Levinson had reached out about her working on Euphoria, saying he'd been inspired by her photography. According to her, after 5 months of working on developing the look and cast of the series, she was dropped, only to find out a year down the line that the show's distinct style still resembled her work. Now you'll find little of this distinct style in season 3. Where seasons 1 and 2 were ambitious teen dramas, season 3 is a western through and through. Look no further than the premiere's opening, which plunges Rue into a car ride through the desert. It's dusty, it's gritty, with the most vibrant blue sky Euphoria has ever seen. For anyone just coming off a season 2 rewatch, it is a shock to the system, but for Sam Levinson, it's a way to position Rue's young adulthood as a western in its own right, a lawless anti-hero's journey to redemption. There are a lot of ways Euphoria Season 3 wears its western influences on its sleeve. That opening desert sequence, Hans Zimmer's Once Upon a Time in the Old West inspired score, the rival outlaw gangs of Laurie and Alamo, who was rarely ever seen without his cowboy hat, and even the title card. Where Euphoria was once spelled out in line text, it's now written out in solid block letters, the kind you'd find on a Western poster. The new title cards even include a copyright notice at the very bottom of the screen, just as you see in an old Western or other old Hollywood films. It's all a very successful pastiche, but that's what it is. Pastiche. It's a faithful recreation of a beloved genre, but it is far from the generation-defining aesthetic that became synonymous with Euphoria. Season 3 feels completely alien to the rest of the show, but disappointingly familiar to anyone who's ever watched a Western, a crime drama, or even a Tarantino movie. I don't know about you, but I'd rather watch Euphoria in its original mode than watch Euphoria going, hey, we have a Western at home! So what happened to some of these generation-defining elements of Euphoria in its shift to a neo-Western style? Let's take a look. Part 2. A new visual style. Levinson and Euphoria's director of photography, Marcel Rev, shot season 3 on a new Kodak film stock in both 35mm and 65mm film, hoping to widen the frame and feel the characters inside of the wider world. In a vacuum, this change isn't a total break from prior season styles. Euphoria has shot on film before, for season 2 and for the special episodes between seasons 1 and 2. Levinson stated that he and Rev always imagined the show being shot on film, hoping to use it to bring a nostalgic feel to the series. In season 2, the nostalgia is directed towards those high school moments, like a fading memory. But the film look in season 3 is more overtly nostalgic for Western aesthetics, once again tying us back into pastiche. In season 3, Levinson and Rev also opted for more objective camera work as opposed to the subjective camera work of seasons 1 and 2. This means that the camera is a neutral observer instead of a vehicle that places us inside the characters' heads. That's why we're getting more lingering wide shots this season, and why we're missing the dreamy dips and spins of the camera that made the first 2 seasons so dynamic. That desire for objectivity also means we're losing out more on the fantasy sequences that brought each character's imagination to life, like Rue's musical number to signify her relapse in season 1, or her and Jules' art-inspired love montage in season 2. With some exceptions, like Cassie's giant woman fantasy, this is mostly gone in season 3. What that means is that stylistically, Levinson has placed us at a distance from these characters and cut off one of Euphoria's strongest assets, its ability to use form to put us in every character's shoes. Now, for a show whose taglines were once feel something and remember this feeling, it seems like Euphoria season 3 doesn't want to let us in on any feeling at all. Part 3, the loss of Labrinth. Euphoria Season 3 doesn't look like the prior seasons, but perhaps more importantly, it doesn't sound like them either. Composer Labrinth created Euphoria's distinct maximalist score, blending layered vocals, catchy hooks, and throbbing bass lines with everything from gospel to electronica. Like the dynamic camera work, it invited us into the characters' turbulent minds. Plus, even when Euphoria made aesthetic changes from Season 1 to 2, like moving from digital to film, the score acted as a dependable through line. That through line vanishes in Season 3, with Hans Zimmer taking over. Originally, Zimmer and Labrinth were both going to be involved in Season 3. Labrinth then left the project, and based on his social media posts, his parting with Euphoria was a contentious one. However, Levinson told Rolling Stone that he didn't know why Labrinth left. No hate to Zimmer. No Time for Caution from Interstellar has gone multi-platinum in my house, but his work on Euphoria just can't measure up to Labrinth. His orchestral score draws from spaghetti westerns and the swelling strings of old Hollywood, tying back to Levinson's central thesis about the Wild West of young adulthood. But, like Levinson and Rev's visual choices, these musical choices wind up feeling derivative and uninspired. Heck, the internet has dubbed parts of it inclusive resort elevator-ass music. Does this make me rethink Zimmer's talents as a composer? Hell no! But the choice to include someone of his Oscar-winning caliber is an odd one, as is the choice to shoot on 65mm film. It feels as if Levinson is so preoccupied with going bigger and making something that can be considered cinematic that he forgets what he should be making in the first place, which is a good TV show. Part 4. A killer time jump. Now by themselves, a full genre switch, a new visual language, and a brand new composer would be tough enough to adjust to. But throwing all of that at us at once is throwing us in the deep end, especially coming off of Euphoria's 4-year hiatus and 5-year time jump. On the one hand, that time jump is necessary. None of these stars can convincingly play high schoolers anymore. The time jump is also why I'm willing to excuse the changes in Euphoria's makeup and costume looks. Sure, they're not as graphic or glitter-heavy as the first seasons, but they're still expressive glam, just aged up to reflect the character's adulthood. On the other hand, the time jump also robs us of seeing some pretty formative years of these characters' young adult lives. Missing that connective tissue means that some of the characters we reunite with in Season 3 feel like complete strangers. Like, who is this man, and what has he done with Nate Jacobs? But the in-show time jump isn't the only problem here. So is the real-world 4-year wait between seasons, which was delayed in part due to rewrites. In that time, viewers' expectations of the show crystallized around Seasons 1 and 2. They wanted more of that, or an elevation of it. So when Levinson offered up a wildly different vision, it's understandable that there would be pushback. Look, I am all for shows trying new things, but not when the new things are actively getting rid of what made your show distinct in the first place. And that is exactly what Levinson has done with Euphoria. Part 5. How can a show reinvent itself? If Euphoria is an example of how a show shouldn't reinvent itself, what are examples of successful TV reinventions? Anthology series come to mind. Some, like The White Lotus and Beef, switch up casts from season to season while still exploring similar themes or conflicts. Others, like Miracle Workers or American Horror Story, use the same casts and even some of the same characters while playing with genre across seasons. For non-anthology series, though, reinvention can mean retooling major issues mid-run. A perfect example of this is another recent HBO series, financial drama Industry. Premiering in 2020, Industry earned its fair share of Euphoria comparison due to its focus on young adults, sex, and drug use. It was a solid show to start, but even showrunners Mickey Down and Conrad K admitted it was 8 hours of vibe with little to no overarching story. Industry truly found its footing in Season 3, when Down and K broadened the show's world beyond the trading floor. The move smartly coincided with its young adult characters stepping further into adulthood and taking on larger roles within the world of finance. As they took on greater responsibilities, the show peered more closely at the global web of business, media, and government that the characters found themselves caught in. Industry's formal ambitions grew with its thematic ones. The show experimented with flashbacks, episodes solely focused on one character, and dream sequences. It even staged its version of a lavish period drama as part of its Season 3 finale, and just continued to blow itself up for a spectacular Season 4. On the whole, though, its sleek, fast-talking aesthetic remained consistent. These departures from the norm just helped remind us that the show was growing, and its characters along with it. Think of Industry Season 3 as opening up the sandbox its characters play in, whereas Euphoria Season 3 just chucks us into a new sandbox entirely. If Industry's reinvention is about fixing what isn't working, Euphoria's winds up throwing out so much of what was working in the first place. More than that, it is just a frustrating misread on Levinson's part as to why the show even resonated to begin with. So, what are your thoughts on Euphoria Season 3? Did you actually like the switch up, or do you, like me, find that it really doesn't work?